Hello everyone, welcome to my corner of the world. Today I'm working on another challenge, and the challenge is shades of blue and green. And so I kind of went through what I have in my stash, and I was trying to think, well, okay, that's a good start, shades of blue and green, but what about a theme? And I remembered that I have this cup. And it has got blue and green, a tiny little bit of yellow, but there is blue and green in there, and I just loved all sort of these little curly leaves and stuff like that. So I went back through my blues and my greens, and I found this blue, which is a perfect match, this green, which is very nearly there, and then there was this sort of green, which I think I could bring in as well, and I thought, well, I'll just go with a white card base. So those were my two sort of inspirations, and I wanted to do floral. That was the other thing. If you know me, you know I love my florals. So I don't have an awful lot of this blue. What I have is mainly triangles and a few odd scraps. So rather than try to cut anything different, thought, well, why don't I just use these triangles? And I found one that is just fractionally too tall, but it fits to the bottom. So I'm going to sacrifice that top corner just there when I get to stick it on. So that was my starting point. Again, let's do that. And then I found that I had this embossing folder. Now, this is by Teacup, and it's got the similar curly cues and little fancy leaves and flowers on it. Wow. Okay, asking to be used. So I'm gonna, my first thought is I'm gonna emboss this piece. Now I think it's going to be a weeny bit awkward because it is slightly longer, but we are going to do a bit of trimming off, so we can do that. Well, we get our cut and emboss machine. Oh, she says, wrecking the joint as we go through. Now then, this is quite a thin one, so I think I'm going to need to use 2 clear plates on my machine to get that through. So let's try that out. It's a bit stiff, but hey, it's working. It's working. So there's that bit. Let's see what we get. Right. So this is rather lovely, isn't it? And it doesn't matter that there's a little bit missing there, because there are some gappy bits around. And there's, I think I probably, well, I suppose I could use the embossed, or I could use the debossed. It doesn't really matter, but I think maybe I'll put this side after all. So I think that makes a great starting point. So we'll do that and get that out of the way so I don't trip over it. And I thought I could bring in another green by using this as a pocket and putting in like a little bookmark. So whoever gets this card could actually, you take that and use that as a little bookmark, and so they've got something to to keep. So let's see, let's go get my punches. I've got a tag topper here, which I think is going to do the job. Let me measure this first, let you know what this is. So this is definitely 2 inches wide because it wouldn't fit in the thing. And it's just a fraction under 5, but it doesn't really matter. Let's see. Now, all the measurements for this card I will put on my blog. And if you just follow the link below this video, it will take you directly to the blog post. So you haven't got to hunt and peck looking for it. So that kind of ends up with about 4 3/4. This card base is 11 and a half. 11 and a half? 11 and a half. I don't know, I must have trimmed it for something. And I scored it at 5 3/4. Yeah, so that's basically half a sheet of A4. And you can use ordinary, or you can use letter 8.5 by 11 and just cut it in half. And so that's about 4 1/8. And so that will fit in there quite nicely. It's not going to be too long, and it will pop out nicely. And I think it would be nice to just round the corners. It'll slip into the pocket a lot easier when we've got rounded corners. So there we go. Now then, I thought if I'm going to have a bit of a tag there, we need a bit of ribbon. And I've got a really nice, very fine shear here. I'm a bit poetic today. So we can just pop a bit of this through. Maybe I ought to do it to cut a piece off. Scissors. There we go, ribbon scissors. If you can hear some funny noises coming over, they're fitting a new lock to the gate into the back garden. So I think it's, yeah, they're using drills and all sorts of electrical bits and pieces. So I think that will have to perhaps be cut down a weeny bit. I think that's a bit on the long side, but I'm thinking we're working our way through. So I've got shades of blue and green. I think we are kind of following the challenge. Now then, as I said, I wanted floral. Now, about a year ago, I bought this magazine, craft magazine, and it had some dies, free dies. And don't we all like free? So here it is, and it's lovely tropical. And I thought, ooh, right, I'd get my florals with this. And I was playing around, and then I thought, oh, I'm going to switch my camera on and just share it with you. So what I did was I cut 2 of this shape, of this one, in the pale green, and then 2 a set in the blue, and just sort of flip them around. And then with this tiny little one, I had this scrap of yellow. Literally, that's all it was twice as long as that, and I just used that. And then I've also cut a couple of these leaves. You don't need to see me die cutting all the time, but so I've ended up with some sort of really nice tropical flowers that kind of go with this embossing folder that I also found. So there was that. Now, the other thing I didn't want to do was to use ink. I thought we could just literally use card and a little bit of ribbon. And so this little set had a hello in it, hello die. So I thought, okay, we'll use that as our sentiment, and we'll just cut a piece, we'll just cut it out and see. I've not used these before, and so I'm just experimenting along with you. Let's see. And we'll see what we end up with. Right. Oh, the bits came out nicely. Look, there's a tiny bit left there. So that did come out of the die nicely. So here we got our little card back again. And where should we put this? Pop it there, maybe. Maybe we could just pop it up there, so that when you pull it out, it will say hello. I wonder if I can just get that at an angle so it's all on. I might have to trim that tiny bit off. I think I like that. Okay, let's get that stuck down. Right. So it's unlike me to just have scraps of colours left. When I was a Stampin' Up demonstrator back in the States, I used to order my card in packs, and used to get like 24 sheets. And I rarely ran out of card. I used an awful lot of card for my classes and all, but I rarely ran out of card. And I just don't use the card now. So I'm a bit loath to, did I say like that or like that? So I'm a weeny bit loath to buy a whole pack of cardstock, because I don't think I'd ever use it. So I buy them the mixed packs. I've bought the mixed packs, but then I've got my favourite colours and I kind of run out of use those. So anyway, that is my problem to overcome. And so if I stick that there, so I'll just run a little bead of adhesive. Now you can use whatever adhesive works for you. I do like to use liquid on my cards. And let's see. Down you go, line you up. Let's get you straight. Right, so I'll let that set for a few moments before I shove my that in there. But what can I do with my, so I could pop that one there. And how about, I've got these sleeves here, how about I do this down here, and maybe I'll turn that round like that, so we've got a bit scooping up there, bit coming down there. And then I'm just going to gently tuck that in there for a second. I'm not going to put it near the adhesive. And then that one could go there. That later, and there I could wonder, I've got, with that would sort of look okay. Maybe if I did this one. These are just stuck with a bit of tape to stop them moving. I wonder, could I do that? Would that look a bit, because it looks a bit lonely there, doesn't it? Right, okay, let's quickly do that. Right, okay. Take that a second. And we'll see what we like. Because this is the only scrap of this colour I've got left as well. So that's another favourite of mine. How about that? I think, yeah, that looks a bit more balanced, doesn't it? Okay. So let's just gently move that. And then we can see, so that goes over there, we just pop that, a little bit of adhesive there. Like that. So this is an any occasion card. You can use it as a thank you, as a birthday, a thinking of you. I think it would work for any of those, just because, let me put this back a minute, like that, so I know where I'm gonna put that. And then that little flower, I think I'm gonna pop up on a couple of these little double-sided sticky pads, so that it's just got a little bit of extra dimension there. Now that thing that this has got like this is like hibiscus, so they've got these little, let's just bring them up a bit. I know it'll flatten in an envelope, but hey. So it's just got these little stamen things. Do you think I should put maybe a pearl in the middle? Should we be devils and just put a pearl there, just to hide the join? It's a little bit of extra bling. There's not a lot of bling on this card. This ribbon has got a little bit of sheen to it, but there's not a lot of other bling. Right, so we'll do the same with this, but I think this time I don't think I'll put this up on a double-sided sticky pad, because if you put it in a book, it won't sit flat. So if we have that coming down there, and then we can have that stamen going up, and it'll kind of balance it a bit. Nice big globby blob on there. And then we'll just pop a little pearl in the middle. Now I think we've got it. There's our shades of blue and green. Let me pop it on this mat so that you can see a bit clearer. Oh, I just need to snip that. Look, it's just literally 1/8 of an inch too big. But so that's not even going to notice. So there we got. I suppose if I'd wanted to use ink, I could have put sort of just some curly whirly stamping up there, but you know, I just kind of went without the ink idea. So here we go. Nice little hello, little bookmark. Maybe we could trim off a bit of this, although it breaks my heart to cut ribbon like that. Just wasted little bits of ribbon. And that will go in like that. And there I have got my card of shades of blue and green, and inspired by my cup, Loddern. Oh, it's William Morris. There we go. So I do hope that you've enjoyed this one. I've really enjoyed sort of building up the idea. Let me get a little bit closer for you. There we go. Well, if you've enjoyed this one, perhaps you'll go ahead, give me a thumbs up. I certainly would appreciate if you'd subscribe and share. And I also appreciate you choosing to spend a little bit of time with me today. And so until next time, bye-bye for now.